The ballroom was filled with crystal chandeliers, French champagne, and women in gowns worth more than homes. At the center stood a black woman in a deep sapphire dress, her hair braided with gold thread, her presence calm, regal, unnoticed. A guest in white lace leaned to her friend and whispered loud enough to cut, "Who let her in? Is this a fundraiser now?" The room stiffened, but the woman didn't flinch. She simply smiled and walked to the stage. When she took the microphone and said three words, "I am the donor," the laughter died. And the woman in white, she didn't beg. She asked with tears for forgiveness. Her name was Dr. Amara Okoye, a surgeon, a philanthropist, a daughter of Nigerian immigrants who worked two jobs so she could read under the kitchen light at 2 a.m. She didn't chase fame. She chased purpose. For 12 years, she flew every weekend from Atlanta to Lagos, leading free medical clinics in villages without electricity. Back home, she funded scholarships for girls in underserved schools, quietly without press, without plaques. She believed service should speak for itself. That night was the annual gala for St. Clair's Children's Hospital, a place that once turned her away when her younger brother needed surgery. Insurance not valid, they said. Tonight, she was the reason the new wing bore her family's name. But no one knew. She wore no badge, no title on her dress, just dignity. And when the woman in white laughed, Amara didn't turn. She didn't glare. She simply adjusted her gloves, took a breath, and remembered her mother's words. When they try to shrink you, child, stand in your full height, not to defeat them, but to remind the others that they too can rise. Because Amara wasn't there for applause. She was there for the little black girl in the back row, the one staring at her like she'd just seen a queen. And in that moment, the real story wasn't about disrespect. It was about what happens when a woman carries her crown without announcing it, and the world finally sees it. The night unfolded like most elite events. Polite clapping, hollow speeches, champagne flutes raised for causes people would forget by morning. Amara sat quietly listening. She watched the woman in white, later known as Eleanor Vance, wife of a banking heir, hold court, laughing too loudly, name-dropping connections, treating waitstaff like furniture. When a young black server dropped a tray, Eleanor rolled her eyes and said, "They never trained them properly." Amara's chest tightened, not for herself, for every woman, every child who'd been made to feel less in a room like this. But she stayed still, because she'd learned long ago, dignity is the quietest revolution. Later, the host took the stage. "We're honored tonight," he began, "by the generosity of a woman who has given over $14 million to this hospital, transforming care, funding research, and building the new Okoye wing, opening next month." He paused. "Dr. Amara Okoye, would you please stand?" The room turned, and for a heartbeat, silence. Then, gasps. Eyes darted to Amara, still seated, now rising slowly, her sapphire gown catching the light like water. The host rushed to her side, microphone in hand. "Dr. Okoye, the floor is yours." Eleanor froze, her face drained. She had mocked the very woman whose name would now greet sick children and grieving parents for decades. The woman whose generosity had saved the hospital from closing. And she had called her a charity case. Amara stepped to the mic. No anger, no triumph, just truth. "Thank you," she said, voice soft but clear. "I stand here not because I want credit, but because someone once told me I didn't belong in a room like this. Tonight, I see so many who've been told the same. To the young girl in the back, yes, you, I see you. You belong. Not because of money, not because of approval, but because you are here, and you are enough." The room erupted, not in polite applause, in standing ovation. But Amara's eyes found Eleanor, who sat, head down, hands trembling. Later, near the garden exit, Amara paused by the fountain. A shadow approached. Eleanor stood there, no longer in control, no longer laughing, just a woman, humbled. "Dr. Okoye," she began, voice cracking. "I didn't know. I should have. I should have seen you." Amara turned gently. "You didn't see me," she said, "because no one taught you to see women like me. unless we're serving you. Eleanor swallowed. I'm so sorry, not just for tonight, for everything I've ever assumed. Amara studied her, then nodded. Apology accepted. But don't give me your guilt. Give your next scholarship to a black girl who speaks with an accent. Hire the woman you overlook. That's how we change rooms like this. One choice at a time. Eleanor wiped her eyes. I will. I promise. And she did. A year later, the Okoye wing opened with no fanfare. Just children laughing, parents breathing easier, and a plaque that read, Healing begins when everyone is seen. Eleanor funded 3 full scholarships. She also started a mentorship program for young women of color in finance. Not for praise, but because that night she learned true power isn't in status, it's in humility. Dr. Okoye never mentioned the incident again, but in lectures, she'd say, when you walk into a room and feel small, remember, you carry generations in your stride. You don't need permission to belong. You just need to show up in your full height. And the little girl from that night? She's now a pre-med student, and on her desk a photo, a black woman in a sapphire gown smiling at a crowd. Under it, she wrote, She made space for me before I was born. So ask yourself, who have you overlooked today? And what if the quietest person in the room is the one holding the future? Not in anger, but in grace?